Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. I ran across a gentleman that I think has an interesting point of view that should be listened to. His name is Kristen Larsen. He's a transformational health coach, He's a published co-author of the book Decision to Heal, and another one soon to be published author of another book called Joy of Being, which will be released later this year. He helps people ignite their belief in themselves so they have the permission to trust their inner leader to achieve what they want in life without limitations. Ignite their belief in themselves so they have the permission to trust their inner leader. Sounds fascinating. Kristen Larson, how are you? Welcome to our show.
Thank you, Brian. I'm doing well. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you so much.
So how did you become a transformational health coach?
Well, it's definitely a long story, but I'm going to summarize. Basically, throughout my life, I was always trying to figure out what I wanted to do in my life. And I always felt that I really didn't have a lot of skills. I felt like my capabilities were limited. So I was always really trying to find what that was. And throughout my journey in life, it forced me to really look at what my strengths were, what my interests were, and to really try different things. And it was a long journey to get to that point, to realize really what my values were in life, and it all aligned with coaching in general. But going deeper into that journey, it related to basically what my journey has been in life, and it's really transforming the beliefs that I had about myself, and the beliefs I had about others, and the beliefs I had about the world.
Tell me a little bit about this journey. What happened in the journey that sort of gave you this sense that you were destined to become a transformational health coach?
Yeah, so it really started from when I was a kid. I found that I really struggled with my sense of identity. So I was really comparing myself to others because I wasn't really comfortable with myself, and that led to a lot of self-judgment, perfectionism tendencies, and through that it led to a lot of depression and anxiety at different points in my life. Just really feeling lost, trying to figure out who I was as a person, where I fit in this world, and trying to make the meaning of connection to everything and to myself. And so
how'd you figure that out?
I figured that out. Basically, it was being trapped in my mind for such a long time, and it was just getting to different points. It was a lot of different choices that I needed to make, a lot of learning that I needed to realize in order to make those shifts, to look at being present with myself, number one, and to start appreciating myself so that I could see the things that were holding me back and keeping me stuck. And really looking, when I was able to be present with myself, then I was able to kind of see my self-talk that I was having with myself, and where my mindset was, so that I could shift from the place that I was in to the place that I wanted to be, which allowed me to kind of move from that stuck place that I was in.
So it says that you're a transformational health coach that helps men and women make long-lasting healthy habit changes so they can bring to life what they envision having, being, and doing in their health and life, helping to reduce stress, weight loss, digestion, increase energy, love of self, and love of life, translating into living a healthy and happy, empowered life of freedom. How do you do that?
Yeah, so my belief is this. My belief is that our habits, they make up our mindset, and our mindset influences the actions that we're taking in our life. So whatever habits that we have in our life, they're really dictating what our mindset is as well. For instance, if we're not getting enough sleep, if we're not getting the proper nutrition, if we're not exercising, doing the simple things that we know that we need to be doing, but we're not doing it, it really starts to affect our mindset, which really starts to shift the way we're looking at our life, the way we're looking at ourselves, and then ultimately that starts forming the actions that we're taking in our life. And when they're not aligning with what we want, then we may start attaching a meaning or a definition to those things, and that's when our beliefs start forming as well. Although our beliefs really, they're kind of ingrained from when we're young in life.
We're chatting tonight with Kristen Larson, who is a transformational health coach. We're going to take a break for some messages and come back more and understand a little bit more about this transformation that Kristen is talking about. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. We're chatting tonight with Kristen Larson, who's a fascinating guy. He's got an unbelievable background. He's a transformational health coach. And I gotta tell you, Kristen, like just going through your background is amazing. So, you've got this Go Venture small business training program, an Entrepreneurial Edge small business program, a Children's Literature Institute writing course, Toastmasters, Barrie social media meetup, Live Your Legend course, Live Your Legend Barrie local host, a Health Coach Institute certification in health coaching, which able you to effectively coach in health habit change areas, and then a Health Coach Institute mastery certification for health coach. And the whole time you were an owner of a Gone Outside Canadian Outdoor Tourism Network business. You were a vehicle assembly craftsperson with Honda of Canada, and you're owner of and a blogger of something called The Hatching Dream.
Yeah.
My God, like what's going on, buddy? Like you're doing everything.
Yeah. So those are all, everything that you just mentioned there, those are all part of my journey in life to get to this point right now. Some of those things I'm not currently doing anymore, but those were part of my learning. They're part of my experience, and they've been an important part of my journey. And it's really helped me to learn more about myself and to understand, I guess, ultimately the connections that I'm making in life. And
connections with what? With people or with concepts or?
Yeah, with people, with myself. And when you say concepts, that's exactly it as well. To be able to, for example, one of those things that you mentioned was Live Your Legend. So that was basically a community that was started by a gentleman named Scott Dinsmore, and it was bringing people together to live life with passion. So I applied to be a host in my local community, and I brought people together to form ideas and discuss ways that they want to be taking steps to start living passionately in their lives. And what that really opened up for me was to step outside my comfort zone, number one, because I was very scared of public speaking. And number two, to be able to connect with people and step into being a leader, to facilitate, and to really, what I didn't realize was I was beginning my coaching journey in that instance, to be able to assist others and guide them towards what it is that they wanted.
One of the chapters in your book is about deciding to heal. And you talk about healing topics such as perfectionism, depression, anxiety, self-worth, being enough, life purpose, etc. How do you decide to heal yourself?
Yeah, for me, it doesn't. For me, it came to the different choices that I was making in life, and it was all about the small little steps. And then that one moment. There's always those defining moments that really show you that you want to transition. Because I also mention in my chapter of the book, living in my ego for a lot of my life, and the ego wants to keep me safe, wants to keep us safe. And it's scared of stepping outside something that's known for so long. And when you realize that this change that you want to make is more important than staying in that place where you're comfortable and that you're safe, then that's when that change really starts to occur. So,
Kristen, you said it was ego-based living into heart-centered living. What do you mean by the transforming from ego-based living to heart-centered living?
Yeah, so for me, and I know that there's probably many people that can relate to this, it's living in your head. So for myself, with all the different self-judgments and really not feeling like I'm showing up in the world as myself, not being authentic, that's living in my ego, because I'm trying to prove or validate what I feel is my self-worth or being enough as a person, as opposed to just knowing that I'm enough as I am. There's no wrong in that, and just genuinely wanting to just connect with people and just appreciate each experience in life. So coming from my heart as opposed to coming from my head.
So accepting who you are.
Accepting who you are. Yes, that's definitely.
And what, not trying to change it. But then you talk about changing it because you want to change your attitude toward perfectionism.
Yeah. So looking at perfection, knowing that that's always something that's going to be part of me, but changing what that means. So for me, it means really taking the time to master something as opposed to try and make sure something's perfect, because if it's not perfect, then what does that mean about me? So just trying to look at the learning behind something and look at how can I do it to the best of my ability and become a master at it.
Okay. You said that you had to have a decision to heal depression and anxiety. Did you suffer from depression and anxiety?
I did, yes. And that was
How'd you get
all.
over it?
I got over it from going back to the habit changes. It was definitely some of the habit changes that I needed to make. One of them was definitely how I was viewing myself. Another big one was self-compassion. And that was a long journey to learn what self-compassion was and how.
What is self-compassion?
Self-compassion is basically giving yourself kindness and allowing yourself to realize that you're not the only one. You're not isolating yourself in your own pain or suffering. Other people are experiencing that too. So you're associating as opposed to disassociating. So you're connecting with other people that might be experiencing the same thing, and you're not judging yourself or having shame or guilt for what you might be experiencing in your life, and giving yourself the kindness and compassion to have the resilience to make the choices and be capable.
Okay, I'm struggling here. So you were anxious and you were depressed, and you got out of that anxiety and depression by having more compassion for yourself and accepting your imperfections.
Correct, and also accepting myself and accepting the story of my life as well, and looking at creating the new story of my life, shifting from that, and of course incorporating as I said, the habit changes. So that meant having self-care and appreciating myself in a more a way that's better for myself.
So you didn't need therapy, you didn't need drugs, you didn't need psychiatrists, you didn't need any of that kind of stuff. You just needed to accept who you authentically were.
Yeah, and I will say it was a process, and even going through the coaching journey, there was a lot of deeper work, inner work that I did as well, and that was going back to childhood and basically healing from the things that I was carrying forward with me, because that's what anxiety and depression is. It's either worry about the future or doubts from the past. So those things are always something that are with you, and if you're not working through those, then it's going to be a continual cycle. And I guess that's the other thing, is getting in front of those patterns that you keep falling into throughout your life.
Most people that work through those things need a therapist to help them work through them. You didn't.
Yeah, and I will say that maybe it depends on how traumatic maybe the experiences were in life, and I can't speak to everyone, but I'm fortunate that I was able to come out of that place that I was in at those different periods in life.
You got another section here that you call Maintaining Masculinity with Self-Compassion. Wow. Can you explain that?
Yeah. So growing up, for me, I always viewed almost a stereotype of what I thought a man is supposed to be. So meaning I thought a man was supposed to be strong, not show emotions. They need to solve everything themselves. And when I lived into that, it was taking me further away from who I really was, because some of my values are to to naturally help people, to give, to have empathy, to have compassion. And it was taking me away from that. And so when I realized that that's something that I really needed to embrace and not be ashamed of being able to be open, be vulnerable, and to be able to share my emotions, but know that I can still be strong and fierce in how I'm doing that, then I'm able to really to have both.
How can you be strong and fierce and compassionate?
So basically, you can still be strong and fierce because for whatever the purpose is that you're giving yourself compassion for, whether that's if you're struggling financially to provide for your family, you can still give yourself compassion for that, but at the same time, be strong and fierce in regards to having resilience to work through that, as opposed to looking at being down on yourself, having self-pity, or those other things that might keep you going through that suffering and that struggle.
You got another section on forgiveness. Tell me about that.
Yeah, forgiveness is a very big part of self-compassion, and that's one thing that allowed me, I would say that's one thing that allowed me to move on from depression and anxiety as well. And forgiveness was forgiveness of myself. So forgiveness of
not of others, of yourself.
Of myself, yeah. And that could mean something different for someone else. Maybe someone else may need to forgive someone else in order to move past in regards to making that choice to heal. For me, it was looking at where I was in my life, looking at the things that I thought I could have did or I wasn't doing, and just forgiving myself for those and looking at what I can do right now, the choices that I do have, and looking at the steps that I am taking and the resiliency that I have had throughout my life to get to that point.
Self-worth and being enough. What do you say about that?
Yeah, those are big ones, and that's where self-compassion comes in. So going back to what I mentioned with self-worth and being enough, it's always about trying to prove your worth or validate your worthiness or being enough in this world. And it doesn't have to be more than that. And that's what I came to realize in regards to self-acceptance was just how I'm showing up, who I'm being in life is enough. And if I'm living into those values and how I'm showing up in life, then it doesn't have to be more than that.
You talk about life purpose. What's your life purpose?
So this is something that a lot of people think, and I believe that it's not something that's purely defined for the rest of your life. And that's what I originally thought. I thought I needed to know what my life purpose was to kind of be on that path to enlightenment in life. But it's really just understanding what you're doing, why you're doing what you're doing right now, and why that's important. So my life purpose right now is to share the knowledge that I've learned, the experience that I've learned throughout my life in my suffering, to share that with others, especially right now during this time, because I know that it will help other people. So that's what my purpose is right now, and that may change coming once I release the book that I'm working on right now. There's going to be other things that form from that, which is going to evolve the purpose that I'm.
So your life purpose is to convey your knowledge and help other people.
That's what my purpose right now is. Yes.
You've got another section that is on forgiveness, surrender, letting go. We've talked about forgiveness, but what's surrender and letting go?
So surrender and letting go is really, again, going back to that choice and letting go of the ego. So just letting yourself to heal and to know that you're safe, and to surrender to what you're holding resistance to in regards to the suffering and the pain, and just to be with it, to be present with it, basically, and to go through the self-compassion process of just giving yourself kindness and kind of reaffirming to yourself that you're going to be okay. And yeah, just
This
going
sort of
through the,
sounds like the transcendental meditation from a generation ago about, you're okay, I'm okay, you're okay. You're effectively saying, I'm okay. You don't have to worry about so much about stuff.
that might be part of it. I believe there's definitely a lot more in it than that, because it is a lot of self-reflection and kind of introspection of our feelings, our emotions, our thoughts, and just looking at the stories or the meanings that are behind the beliefs that we have behind these things as well, and challenging those and having the courage to form new meanings or new beliefs that are in aligned with what we want to be experiencing or living in our lives.
You have another section on gratitude. Some people think that showing gratitude is so critically important. Do you?
Absolutely, I do.
Why?
I think it's important because it's part of really being present. Going back to presence, there's three things that I know that when I'm in suffering, it's because I'm not practicing gratitude. I don't have presence and self-compassion. So when I'm out of alignment in my life, it's because of one of those three things. And gratitude is definitely a big part of that, because it's just, for me, it reaffirms that life is enough as it is right now, and it doesn't have to be more. And also just being grateful for everything that I have and the life that I have. And it starts from when I wake up till I go to sleep.
We haven't talked about presence yet. What do you think presence is?
Presence is having awareness, being able to acknowledge, and being able to accept. So again, going back to what we're experiencing in the moment, not attaching ourselves to kind of what's happening, and just letting ourselves experience kind of what is happening, and yeah, just being open and present to that.
So I said, I had one person that told me to have presence, you have to live in the present, and to live in the present, you can't be in the past or the future, because if you're living in the past, you might be depressed. And if you're living in the future, you might be anxious. And so therefore live in the present, and then you'll have presence. Does that make any sense?
Yes, that's how I view it. That would be definitely a good way of putting that as well, because when you're in the present, you're not thinking about the past, you're not thinking about the future, you're just in the moment that's occurring right now.
We're chatting tonight with Kristin Larsen, who is the author of a book called Decision to Heal. And he talks about lots of topics that we've discussed already: perfectionism, depression, anxiety, self-worth, being enough, life purpose, ego-based living into heart-centered living, inner leadership. We haven't talked about that. We should come back and talk about that. Beliefs limiting and serving, maintaining masculinity with self-compassion, forgiveness, surrender, letting go, self-acceptance, gratitude, and presence. We're going to take a break and come back more with Kristin. We're going to talk about his new book, The Joy of Being, Living in Presence and Seeing the Joy in Life. Sounds fun. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour, Saga 960. We're chatting tonight with Kristin Larsen, who is an author and, my gosh, a coach. And it sounds like you've done a whole bunch of other things, including a lot in tourism and a lot in outdoor stuff. I think, Kristin, you've got an interesting background, and it's probably led you to a bunch of the conclusions that you've come about your purpose in life, which is kind of fun. Kristin has written a book, Decision to Heal, and we've been discussing that so far tonight. But now we're going to talk about the new book that he's going to be that he is writing, and he's going to be releasing this year, called Joy of Being, Living in Presence and Seeing the Joy in Life. And I guess along with it, you're launching an inner leadership coaching program. So tell me a little bit about this new book and what it's going to talk about.
Yeah, I'm so excited about this book because it kind of encapsulates what I've learned in my life about how we're showing up in life and incorporating, obviously, presence into it. So it's almost like a journal workbook, and someone would be looking at when they start their day till they end their day, and incorporating gratitude and presence and the things that they're learning throughout their day, such as any challenges that they're facing, and looking at it from a place of growth and the choices that they have. So they're really they're being empowered of how they're showing up in their day and living in their day with intention. And
What do you mean living in their day with intention?
so when they start their day, looking at
Putting together a to-do list or something?
no, so basically, so starting out their day, looking at how they want to be showing up in their day. So when I start my day, I want to be showing up in connection, in courage, and in giving. So when
Connection, encourage, and giving.
Yeah.
You want to connect with new people, make new friends.
Or that could mean connecting with myself, making sure I'm connecting with myself, connecting with others, connecting in life, whatever that means throughout my day.
Okay, but encourage typically means someone else, because if it's for yourself, it's courage. But if you're encouraging, then you're encouraging, you're giving courage to someone else.
Yes, that's true. So when I'm referring to courage, what I'm referring to is me showing up with courage.
Okay, but even gratitude, isn't it gratitude to someone else? But you're showing what, gratitude to yourself?
It could be gratitude. Yeah, it could be gratitude to someone else. It could be gratitude to myself as well. Okay. It's just embodying those intentions.
Okay, and I guess you say that you talk a little bit in this book about a stigma around mental health. Tell me about that a little bit.
Yeah, so obviously that's maybe that was what I was referring to in Decision to Heal, and what I was referring to in regards to that was the stigma that we have about mental health, where you can't talk about it, and that sometimes we feel that we're ashamed or feel guilty for having some of these thoughts of suffering that we're in, and we don't want to share them with other people. And especially going back to being a man and not wanting to open up or be vulnerable to share those things. So breaking that stigma and realizing that we're not alone in what we're experiencing. And by sharing these things, it opens up the space for other people to connect and to share what they might be going through as well.
Do you think there is still a stigma on mental health? We've got these Bell Canada sponsored mental health days and a whole bunch of other things to try to make mental health more not normal but acceptable. Do you think there's still a stigma?
I think there is, and I think those particular events and days are so needed, but those are usually small parts of the year. And also, I know from my own experience, you kind of when you're going through depression or have anxiety, it's something that it becomes something that you just begin to live with, and sometimes you don't even realize that you're in it. And when you have other people talking about it or being open about it, it brings almost that awareness and acknowledgement to it, and you become more aware of the patterns that you're in at that moment as well.
You've got a section on how do we effectively process anxiety. How do you successfully process anxiety?
Yeah, so there's a lot of, I do a lot of check-ins throughout my day. And what I mean by that is really being present with myself to see kind of where I'm at in regards to what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling. And
that's the part of the journaling that you suggest in this workbook?
Yes, that's definitely in the workbook. That's a part of it. There's definitely a midday check-in to see what I'd be experiencing in the day. And for me, anxiety is it's really me being in a fast pace and not being able to slow down, really having that anxious feeling all the time, and not being able to be in control of what I'm thinking. So really taking that time to slow down and give myself compassion. And
I find when I'm anxious, I almost have to do the opposite of check in. When I'm checking in, I'm thinking too much of what's going on, and I've got to almost check out. I got to take a deep breath. I got to close my eyes. I got to slow down. I got to almost check out, not check in.
Well, for me, and maybe if that works for you, that's great. For me, it's all about letting go of the attachment that I have to my thoughts. And again, going back to my things that are always going to be part of me, such as when I'm fearing something, then it goes back to questioning my worth, questioning enough, or going into that perfectionism to prove my validate my worth. So it's really checking in with where these things are coming from and getting ahead so it doesn't kind of snowball.
And how do you check in? Do you journal, or do you just ask yourself the question, or do you go to a quiet room and what do you do?
Yeah, it could be a bunch of different things depending where I am. Like obviously, I work full time as well. So if I'm at work, I can't journal at that particular moment. So I will take a minute and I'll just check in with myself and ask myself those questions. Where are these thoughts coming from? What's the fear I have behind these thoughts that's creating this anxiety?
You've talked about it a couple of times tonight. We haven't really addressed it. Inner leadership. What is inner leadership, and how do you apply it in life?
Yeah, so it's all about the experiences that we have in our life journey, and just taking the wisdom and the knowledge and the awareness that we have from that journey, and being able to kind of trust in that and fulfill our true potential. And as I mentioned before, was shift those patterns that are keeping us in that same place, that are not allowing us to move into where we want to be, and really embrace our true capabilities. So that means looking at what our story is in our life, what meanings that we're formulating around the things that are keeping us in those same patterns all the time, and just maintaining that vision that we have.
So, a lot of these concepts sound excellent, but how do you actually do them? Like, you've talked about journaling. Are there any other sort of tricks isn't the right word, but processes that you recommend? Like, is it meditation? Is it it's not therapy, because you said you didn't go to a therapist. Like, how do you figure out these things? How do you figure out, what your authentic self is? How do you figure out what you're anxious about? How do you figure out how to process anxiety? Like, the journaling sounds good, but there's got to be some other things, actual processes that you can recommend to people.
Yeah, it's definitely, you have to be present with yourself, and whatever that means for someone to be present with themselves. Journaling is one, meditation is one. If it's yoga, it means really quieting the outer noise that's happening, and being present with your own self to be aware of what's being created in your own, basically in your own space, in your own mind, and being able to, for me, it was asking questions and questioning it and challenging.
Like, what type of questions?
Like I said before, was asking the questions such as why might this be creating any fear that I'm having, and where might this be coming from? And then, or if it's anxiety, just asking what might be creating this anxiousness that I have right now. And usually it's fear. There's always a fear behind it. And the three most common things, love, safety, and belonging, is what every human being desires or wants. And those things are affecting when we're feeling threatened in some way.
You've got a great sign behind you. Dream, believe, love, live. Tell me about that.
Yeah, those are just those are things that I want in my life. So I think that's important to really identify and know what those things are. So it's part of the process of creation, what we're creating in our life, to live, love, and that's what I stand for. And that's, having those things surround me. It just really it helps me to create those in my life.
We're chatting tonight with Kristen Larson, who is an author and a coach, a transformational health coach. He's written a book called Decision to Heal, or co-authored a book called Decision to Heal, that talks about a whole bunch of topics like perfectionism and depression, anxiety, self-worth, being enough, life purpose, Maintaining Masculinity with Self-Compassion, which was kind of an interesting one. I sort of think that, it's the old line about compassionate conservative is an oxymoron, and it's so compassionate masculine are those oxymorons, but I guess you figured out a way to do it. Forgiveness, surrender, letting go, self-acceptance, gratitude, and one I really like, presence. And then he's going to be publishing a new book this year called Joy of Being, Living in Presence and Seeing the Joy in Life. Kristen, if people want to buy your books or check you out or get your coaching, do you have a website they can go to?
I do have a website. It's just in the midst of being updated right now, but it's www.klhealthcoaching.com. And to purchase or check out the book, Decision to Heal, it's available on all major bookstore websites, Amazon, if you're in Canada, Indigo Chapters, Barnes & Noble. And my book that will be released, it will be released everywhere, and I will be providing updates on the progress of that throughout the year.
It's been a pleasure chatting with you. Thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much, Brian.
That's Kristen Larsen, and you can get him at, what was it again? KL Health.
Healthcoaching.com.
klhealthcoaching.com. Thanks so much. We're going to take a break and come back with some of my own concluding comments in just a minute. Stay with us.